Hailing from Flint, Michigan, he is the son of a United Auto Worker Union man. He is the Academy Award-winning filmmaker behind Bowling for Columbine, Fahrenheit 9/11, and Fahrenheit 11/9. He is the host of the brand new podcast, Rumble, that is already topping the charts, and he is an Eagle Scout. Please put your hands together for Michael Moore.
No powder flash blinded the eye, no deathly thunder sound, but just as sure as the hand of God, they brought death to my hometown. They brought death to my hometown, boys.
Hey! Sioux City!
Oh my God, look at this crowd. Thank God it's the fire marshal's night off. No, that's a horrible thing to say. We have been to Perry today, Ankeny. We've been to Fort Dodge. We've been to Storm Lake. And all the way, along the way, they kept telling us at Fort Dodge and Storm Lake, boy, wait till you get to Sioux City. We're going to feed you there. And we got here, and there was a beautiful box of donuts from Walmart, and we said, praise Jesus. And we've been eating donuts back there, and there was an extra box, and I thought I'd come out and share it with the audience. So... Sorry, this one works. There we go. Anyways, well, it's great to be here. It's my first time ever in Sioux City, and here's the thing too. There's 3 states. My whole life here, I've traveled most of the country. There's 3 states I haven't been to: Wyoming, North Dakota, and South Dakota. And somebody told me we're just a couple miles, like across the city limit lines. I've got to go put my foot in South Dakota. This is going to happen tonight, before midnight. There will be only 2 states left that I haven't been to. Thank you. Anybody here from South Dakota? Whoa! Okay, well, there's still time to register in Iowa? No, I think you have to live here. Okay, but no, we need your votes in South Dakota, right? And North Dakota. And West Dakota and East Dakota. You can't have too many Dakotas. Am I right? You know, this has been a great few days. I'm here for 12 days to help Bernie. This is my 4th day here in Iowa, and I just couldn't think of a more important way to spend my time right now, because I honestly believe this is one of these once-in-a-lifetime chances to do good, to do something really good. And none of us should miss this opportunity, because the powers that be, the 1%, the people who call the shots, this is the last thing they want to have happen. Oh my God. And they must have, this morning when they woke up and read their Sunday papers on Park Avenue, and they saw that Bernie Sanders was #1 in the polls in New Hampshire and #1 in the great state of Iowa. Oh my God. How did the wealthy get through their breakfast this morning? Oh my God, you mean there's a chance? There's a chance of this happening? Yes, there is. Absolutely. Not just a chance. This is where the country's at. And they should know better actually than anyone else, because they are the ones who made the majority of our fellow Americans live from paycheck to paycheck. They're the ones who have made sure that every single American doesn't have health care. They're the ones who've shipped our jobs elsewhere so they can make an even larger profit and put everybody on the line here struggling to get by. And then they run their reports on the opioid crisis and all the medical things that are really only result, as Bernie says, these are diseases of despair. And it's a vicious, brutal attack on us. This attack has been going on for some time. I can tell you, being from Flint, being from the state of Michigan, yes, the diaspora is everywhere, isn't it? You know this. You know. We know. We've been through this for decades now, where the American dream was crushed. And, there was no better example of this than in the 2016 general election on that day, November 8th, 2016, where you're not going to believe that nobody planned this. Nobody suggested anybody do it. There was no organization or movement. No meetings were held. But nearly 90,000 Michiganders showed up to the polls that day, freezing cold, stood in line for 2 to 3 hours, went in, got a ballot, and voted, the majority of them, voted for every Democrat on the ballot, from the senator to Congress to state senate, state representative, county commission, right down to the lowest office in Michigan. We don't have dog catcher on the ballot, but we do have drain commissioner. The person in charge of the sewage in your community, you vote for that person in the state of Michigan. Democrat after Democrat after Democrat after Democrat, these 90,000 voted for, and they left the top box blank. No, don't boo them. No, please. First of all, they could never vote for Donald J. Trump. But they have been through the ringer so many times, brutalized by a system that they thought was for them because they worked hard for it. They went and served in the military for it. They gave and gave and gave to this country. And what the people of the Detroits and the Flints and the East St. Louises and the Gary, Indianas and every place else, what did they get in return? And they saw that even though their hearts were with the Democrats, the cavalry never came to save Flint, Michigan. The great poisoning of Flint that started back in 2013 and 2014 with a Republican governor. We begged, though, the Democratic administration in Washington, D.C. to please help us. Really, all you have to do is send in the Army Corps of Engineers to dig up the poison pipes and replace them. This isn't rocket science. We know how to dig up pipes, and we know how to replace them. And got nothing for it. And so 90,000, without talking to each other, show up to send a message. You didn't want to come and campaign in our state? You're our party. You wouldn't go to Wisconsin? You're our party. You're our only hope. Donald Trump isn't going to save us. Do you understand? I have come to believe, I used to boo too. Like, you have a responsibility to vote. This is not a democracy unless every citizen votes. In fact, if you say you're a citizen in a democracy, it implies automatically that you're an activist and a voter. Because if you don't vote, and if you're not active, the democracy ceases to exist. So 90,000 thought they'd send a message, mostly to the Democratic Party, that they were sick and tired of being sick and tired. The African American vote was down in Detroit, as it was down in Milwaukee, as it was down in Philly. What do these three states have in common? You've been lied to the media about why we lost in 16. It's not because we lost the white working class that Lunch Bucket Joe didn't come out and vote. We lost because these black cities of Flint and Detroit and Milwaukee and Philly, the despair, the utter despair, unless you've lived in people's shoes, you don't understand this. But I've come to believe now that when people say, I've had it, I can't take it, no, I'm not showing up anymore. They love their country. The largest party in America is the non-voter party, 100 million strong. And they are not apathetic. They are not people who don't give a damn. They are not stupid. They've just fucking had it. I'm sorry to say that. I want to respect Bernie, but I heard him say bullshit on TV this week that he wasn't going to take any more of it. So it's still, remember it now, it's still a PG-13 movie with 3 of the bombs. So that's my only one for tonight. But I say it only because I want you to understand that I believe these beloved Americans who love their country, who are patriotic, who have served their country, for them to have to not go and vote, it rips the guts out of them. They want to participate. They're Americans. They live in the greatest country on earth. They don't understand. They just can't do this anymore. They can't subjugate themselves. It's humiliating. Our water's been poisoned for the last 2 years. Where are you? Democrats, where are you? We love you. I believe when they did that 90,000 showing up and leaving the top box blank, that's an act of civil disobedience. It's an act where, no, it's not the kind where they're going to get arrested. It's the kind where they've got to go home and feel shitty about themselves because they would want to vote. They do want to vote for president. But they couldn't do it anymore. They drank too much of the water. And it was the only way they could figure out. And the fact that they figured this out individually without getting together, just that idea came to 90,000 people on its own. I was there. There was no discussion about it in the days or weeks leading up. They just did it because they needed to get the attention, especially of their party. Don't do this to us again. Don't nominate somebody who's even going to visit us. Don't nominate somebody who won't go to Wisconsin. Do not insult us again. We've been insulted for too long. I saw that commercial, this new commercial for one of the other candidates, that I'm the safe choice. Play it safe with me and we'll beat Trump. Vote for me because is that the best? The best anybody could say about themselves is that I'm safe? Seriously, I mean, if you were on Match.com and you saw some guy on his profile had written, I'm safe, the first thought would be, the hell you are! That's the creepiest thing I've ever read on a profile. I'm safe. We're tired of playing it safe. What has it gotten us? No increase in people's wages in 30 plus years? Almost 40 now, since the era of Reagan. Where has it gotten us by playing it safe? Nowhere. In fact, we're worse off. We're worse off because we were convinced, well, the only way we can beat Reagan in '84 is vote the safe choice. Vote the safe. So we voted. We voted safe, didn't we? We voted safe in '84. The young people don't know who I'm talking about. The rest of you do. Right? Just think, we visited the home of Wonder Bread down in Waterloo yesterday. So just think Wonder Bread. Safe, the safe bread. Wonder Bread with free mayonnaise. No, it's like, in '88, we were told, play it safe again. I remember this because Jesse Jackson won the Michigan primary in '88. No, Jackson will lose. Don't vote for him. Vote for the safe choice. A helmet and a tank. Oh, cute. In 2000, we were told to vote for the safe choice. Vote for it, yes, and we got the most votes. Yeah, except we didn't. What didn't we do? We won the popular vote. We should have started the day after the election getting rid of the Electoral College. And we didn't. Do you think if the Republicans had won the popular vote, they just would have sat back and go, oh, no. Again, there is the Electoral College, and we're such strict constitutionalists. Right. We did nothing. We did nothing about this. So 16 years, that comes back to bite us when we win by 3 million votes. But we didn't do anything about it after 2000. And once again in 16, we were told to go the safe route. Go the safe route. Pick the safe candidate. We need to win. We have to win. And of course, many people arrogantly thought, Trump, are you kidding? That's like shooting fish in a barrel. I mean, that's nothing. We could pitch strikes blindfolded. Right? There's no way America's going to vote for him. Took it for granted, went with a safe choice. My friends, we all know by now, safe loses. Safe loses. And if you're a candidate who voted for the Iraq War to send our sons and daughters over there to invade a country that had nothing to do with 9/11, a country that had never, ever done anything to kill us, to invade us, to bomb us, and we gave up 4,800 lives for that? Who would ever vote for somebody? Well, I did. I voted for Kerry. I voted for Hillary. How many more times are we going to be asked to vote for somebody who didn't know that George W. Bush and Dick Cheney and Don Rumsfeld were up to no good? You can't do that. I actually love Joe Biden. I know him. He's really a good guy. He really is a good guy. But when I heard him say this week, well, Bush told me, he wasn't really going to invade. He just wanted to use it, to threaten, to have the power. Right? Well, okay, I understand people get fooled. But if you're asking me to vote for you for president of the United States, I need somebody who does not get fooled by an idiot like George W. Bush. This is not the time that's why it's packed in here tonight. None of us are into safe. Here's what we're into. We're into voting for the one candidate who is going to be the Trump stopper. He's the Trump stopper, and his name is Bernie Sanders. Trump stopper. Every head-to-head poll that they've been conducting lately shows of the 4 or 5 or 7 candidates, the number one candidate, when they say to people, if you had the choice between Bernie Sanders or Donald Trump, who would you vote for? Bernie Sanders! Like the last one I saw by 9 points. That's who I want. As what they say is true, that our number one goal in this election is to remove Trump. We have many other goals, but remove Trump. Well, then that one's a no-brainer. I want to tell you something. We were filming in West Virginia, and the Democrats down there, a few months after the 2016 election, sometime in 2017, they decided that they just wanted to find out What if it hadn't been Clinton-Trump? What if it had been Bernie Sanders versus Trump in West Virginia? Now, West Virginia is the state that Trump won by the largest margin. 68% in West Virginia voted for Trump. And I think it was 28, 29% for Hillary. So that is a red Trump state. But they conducted this poll anyways. They wanted to find out if the ballot had read, and this is not, people are not answering this question now 3 months or 3 years after suffering through Trump. This is, I don't know, 6 to 8 months, something like that. And I'm going to tell you what the results were. This has been published. I'm surprised. Well, I'm not surprised, but you don't hear this in the media. 68% for Trump, 28, 29 for Hillary. So it was in the later 20s, somewhere in there. Bernie versus Trump. Here's what the poll said. Had that been the ballot, 48% for Bernie Sanders, 46% for Donald Trump. That's West Virginia. That's Trump's strongest state. 48-46. Unbelievable. Bernie, we lost because of Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Bernie won Michigan. Bernie won Wisconsin. Forget about now the nationwide polling. We need to be focused on these states where it's going to come down to it. And in these states, people love Bernie. I said this on TV last week. Do you realize Bernie won every northern state that borders Canada? And in the primary. I'm talking about Montana, Idaho, Washington, Minnesota, North Dakota, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and New York were the only two that Bernie, well, Pennsylvania doesn't touch Canada. That's right. So only New York. He won Vermont and New Hampshire and Maine. He won 4 of the 6 New England states. He won 4 of the 5 states that touch the Pacific Ocean in the primaries. This whole thing about, well, I like Bernie, but I don't know, can he win? That's been settled. And it really, you know who's really settled it finally? Yesterday was Lev Parnas. You know Lev, of Lev and Igor fame. He taped his phone calls with Trump. Did you hear the tape today? If you haven't heard it, go online. Lev Parnas and Trump are talking. And Trump is scared of Bernie. Trump says to Parnas, and I believe Giuliani, Trump says, and he's on, you can hear Trump's voice say this. He said, I was afraid, I won't do Trump's voice. I was afraid, you've heard it enough. I was afraid that Hillary was going to pick Bernie as her running mate. And I was so relieved that she didn't, because that would have been a tough one. He's the only one I didn't want to see on that ballot, on that ticket, was Bernie Sanders. What does that tell you? No, my friends, we are the Trump stoppers. In Iowa, you are the Trump stopper. It stops here, right here. The starting of the stopping starts right here in Iowa. You have to do this. You have to do this. Bernie and I, Michigan and Vermont, we share a border with Canada. Canada from Detroit's a half mile across the river. In Vermont, it's just 2 trees. When we say we can see Canada from our front porch, it's actually true. And let me tell you something. This is what we also share, because we're so close to Canada. We see that just a half a mile from us, how many Canadians lose their home or go bankrupt because they don't have health care? None. If you get sick in Canada, you get to see a doctor. You get to go to the hospital. You get help. We look across into Canada. We don't see young people with student debt that they have for the next 20 or 30 years, where they're in a debtor's prison. That just doesn't happen. We look across and we see Canada, and we see a nation that per capita actually has more guns than we have in their homes, because the number one sport in Canada is hunting. There are more people in Canada who hunt than play hockey. Yes. There are something like 7 million guns in Canadians' homes. And how many people of each other, how many fellow Canadians do they kill every year? Hardly any. 100? Maybe in a nation of 34 million people? 100? We can do that in a day with a couple of mass shootings. Why don't they kill each other? They're not better than us. They have the same 23 chromosomes in their cells. Their kids watch the same violent movies. Why don't they kill each other? The CD, well, because I have my own theory about this. I made a movie about it. I think it's because the Canadian people organize themselves around the concept of we. And we organize our concept around the idea of me. Me, myself, and I. The Canadians feel like if there's 10 people that don't have health care, that means none of us have health care. That's the way Canadians look at it. I'm telling you, my friends, we're not free as long as we have the possibility of dying because we can't afford to see a doctor. We don't live in the land of the free. As long as we send our 22-year-olds into a debtor's prison, we're not free. As long as somebody couldn't come to this rally tonight because they can't afford childcare, we're not free. We are the land of the free. We need to start acting like it by being the home of the brave. Every one of us has a job to do. All of you have a job to do on February 3rd. You have to be brave. You have to bring 10 people with you to the caucus. We have to make this happen. I implore you on behalf of the other 49 states, we can't take this anymore. Let the people of Michigan come and vote with pride this year. Please support and do whatever you can to help Senator Bernie Sanders in this election.